There you go.
How about now?
Is it working now? Yeah, we can hear.
Okay. And then you want to go ahead and turn on screen share so we don't have to mess with it in the future?
Okay, can someone come and show me this thing because it pisses me off when I don't know.
We gotta keep you happy.
Yes, you have to, at least for the first hour. And you guys don't do what you did yesterday, okay? I will not stay here till 10 o'clock for nobody.
Okay.
So all of you who take potty breaks, take them like about 9:15.
Okay.
Okay.
Okay?
Well, at least you need giving us when we can take it then. I don't want to miss anything, but yeah, that's great.
That's what I said.
How's that look?
Okay, so who is Robert?
Oh, me.
Okay, so what brings you here?
On the learn SAP and because I did some like supply chain management and accounting in the military, but then there's like that gap of like all the computer systems and experiences. So I'm hoping to take this and then hopefully like later with my college education I'll do something really cool.
Okay, so what part of the military were you?
Marines, aviation supply.
As if I know anything about it. Well, like we say, everybody says thank you for your service.
Oh, my pleasure.
Stephanie Smith.
Yes, please.
Yes, ma'am.
I'm here I've did a college spell before,
Okay.
and I wanted to use it. I want SAP because I've been looking for a job, and they always ask, do I know SAP or PeopleSoft? Something like that. But now that I know accounting, I want to go work in the warehouse. I want to do logistics.
In the warehouse.
Well, logistics. I want to work moving freight, moving material.
Okay, but do you know that you can do the accounting with SAP MM? It is a smooth follow-on. After invoicing, AP picks up that document and pays.
Right.
So I mean, that to me would be warehousing is more it's more manual labor to me.
Okay.
Unless you're in the offices and stuff, or where it's the forklift picking, packing. I don't know why a beautiful lady like you want to do that. You have to hold up your back with those back braces and I think you should think about doing MMAP. So when you're writing your resume, you say MMAP, and that should get you what you're looking for. Because you are now doing MM and FI, the AP portion of FI, accounts payable. Right. Okay? Okay. So that's what I think that you should. Yeah. Warehousing, I just can't. I don't know. I don't know. Okay. But if that's what you want to do to lose weight, that's fine.
Lose weight.
Wednesday, Jack, Washington. Yes, hi.
I'm here because I'm doing a different skill set. My background was administrative assistant. So now I want to do something to broaden my learning and to enhance me learning more other than just this small box. I want to get in a bigger box so I can broaden my way of in the business world as far as myself accomplish something that I'm getting ready to have no idea. I've never been in SAP, so this is something new to me, but I'm looking forward for this challenge. See how much I can succeed in it.
Okay. Okay, for you, I would say you should start looking at things as like a user.
Okay.
Someone who is entering the data, validating the data, that kind of thing. I wouldn't say go in and be a consultant. That's a bit too,
too much.
Too much. Yes, yes. Okay. So I would say anything that is like data entry, data validation, testing. Test. If you understand the process, you're able to test it. That would be my advice to you. But as we move on, I will say, hey, you're good in this area. Why don't you strengthen that or do this or do that? Do you understand what I'm saying?
Yes.
Okay. Yolanda, Veriel, she's not here. Who's David? Oh, he's not here. Oh, sorry, David.
Yes, ma'am.
Yes, sir.
Okay, my degree is in chemical engineering, my first degree. My second degree is MBA in business. My passion
So what the hell are you doing here?
I don't know.
You should be teaching the class.
That's what Christine wants me to do. Anyway, later, I don't know enough. So my passion is data. Always has been, I believe, the world runs around data. And if you park your truck to data, you'll never go hungry. That's my opinion. Why am I here? Back 15 years ago, seriously, I fell into a SAP class. One of these bootleg SAP classes running by a bunch of Indians on.
On Howard?
This one was on Fountain View.
No, that's the same area. Been there, done that.
And so they taught us a little about, they taught us a little bit of smattering of MM and FICO, a little bit of everything, enough to be dangerous. And so I wound up doing I had a little bit of experience working with hardware and interfacing with some of the middleware. I did some contract work at Baker Hughes middleware. I set up a transactional service called Get Paid. What else? That was about it. And so, what happened was I wasn't getting a contract. So I did not want to completely lie. Completely fabricate the resume. And so I went back into engineering because they doubled my money. And so, but I realized that my passion more than engineering is really data. So then I found out about this class, and I know MM is you do master data. That's the core of the whole thing, right? And then you're dealing with NetWeaver also, which is the foundation of how stuff works. Christine told me that we were going to do a deep dive, and she told me about you, that you were the best. And seriously.
I wouldn't say that, but that's okay.
But that you're the best, and that I really need to know more about what I'm doing, and I don't know enough.
Okay.
You
know that some of the best ABAPers in SAP, they're all engineers. I don't understand that. Most of the best ABAPers are engineers. I have a very good friend of mine. He's an ABAPer, and he's an engineer from one of the best universities in England, Imperial College. If you call him and you wake him up, from the time he wakes up, he charges $250 an hour. From the time he wakes up, from the time you wake him up. And he hasn't gotten had a shower or gone to work yet. He charges $250 an hour. He is that good. I have never known him not to work. And he's been in this country for like 10, 15 years. His wife doesn't work. She looks like one of those trophy queens. Very good friend of mine. She does not work. So for some reason, they make the best programmers. I don't know how that works, but they just do. Okay? So what about, who's Aubrey Williams?
I'm Aubrey.
Who? Okay, hi.
Hi, how are you?
I'm doing great. I saw you before, right?
Yeah,
Yeah,
I
okay.
talked to you before.
Oh, yeah,
How
yeah.
you doing?
I'm doing great. What
I'm
about
so
you?
sorry I'm late. I sent you an email though.
Oh, was it you?
Yeah.
Oh,
that was
okay.
me.
Oh, somebody did. So thank you very much.
That was a wrong turn. That was a disaster.
Tell me how.
Right. But anyway, I'm sorry, what were you saying?
I said, what brings you here? What's your background, and what do you hope to get from this class?
Okay. So I was going to ask you all this question online yesterday, but
Okay.
that was me. So my last role was an SAP administrator for Olin. And Olin is a petrochemical company who specializes in chlor-alkali, chlorine, and bleach.
So when you say administrator, were you basis?
No, I didn't do anything with regards to design, configuration, although I shouldn't say configuration, but it is very light. But I was a liaison between customer service, purchasing, and logistics in the SAP team. So when they brought me in, Olin had purchased Dow's, and so they took on all of Dow. They continued on Dow's ECC 6.0, and then they were on CRM. There were two different SAP systems.
Okay.
So they brought me in maybe 2 months before the new CSRs came, and they hired a completely new team of CSRs, about 32.
What is CSR?
Customer service rep.
Oh, okay.
And I trained them in both systems. So I got in training. I've been in SAP for many years. I started in customer service in 1998. And that's when I had my first,
adventure, I'm calling it, with SAP. So I've been doing it for a very long time. And I started off in the HR management, then went to FICO, and then finally S&D in about 2001.
What's S&D?
Southern Distribution.
Or SD? Okay, I was going to say, is that a new one? Oh, okay. Okay.
But I work with LE, MM, PM, PP, SD, obviously, and then of course FICO. But in this last role was the role I really had to get in there and show what I can do by training for CSR as a customer service representative. And the challenge with that was the two different SAP systems who did things quite different. So I work very closely with customer service office, the purchasing of the business, but also with the SAP team. So I was the middle person.
So your SAT team, were they offshore?
No. Well, I can say this. While we were in Houston, they were mostly based in Tennessee. And a little small city called Charleston, Tennessee. It's where Owens.
I know where it is.
You know where it is?
That's Section 39. I used to work on.
Oh, really? Are you serious? In Tennessee? Owens probably.
Paper mill.
Over in that area.
That's what the paper mill.
Oh, where is it?
It's called, at the time it was Bow. It's all right.
Well, you guys, you take each other out for lunch.
Yeah, I didn't live there. I just went there for maybe 3 weeks and tried. Anyway, so I love SAP. I've been working with it with regards to a career now for the last 20 years. What I like to do now is I get job offers all the time, but I get them for positions that they think I'm qualified for, and I'm not. I said star an example of a few last week for all of them, which was great, but I got one today for $8. So people see my resume and they think that I have those qualifications, I know what I want to have them. So I'm here for that. But then mostly is that I have a nonprofit organization and I work with women and children. And I would love to understand this enough to be able to train them when they live in poverty, live in poverty. So I'm thinking, I'm almost certain because it's for me.
Yeah. Yes, it can.
So that was another big reason.
Okay. Well, welcome. Just by show of hand, how many people have used SAP before? Just a little bit.
Not knowingly?
Yes.
Yeah,
I mean, you
I
know
have
it's
not
SAP.
knowingly.
Yeah, you know it's SAP, but that is not SAP, right?
Okay, right.
SAP is
Yeah,
a big no. Don't
Yeah.
call it SAP. I've
Yeah.
seen people who have lost positions because during the interview they said SAP. Okay, SAP is a structural adjustment program. SAP is not that. Okay, so be very careful with that. Okay, who is Amanda Orton? Yes, ma'am.
Hi. What brought me here? I'm currently 14 weeks from finishing my master's degree, and all the jobs that I've been looking for is asking for some sort of SAP PLC certification, and that's what brought me here. So I want the education portion of it so that I can become certified and have knowledge of it, so that I can get a better job. I'm currently in the Army Reserve as a transporter. We don't really use, SAP.
You know, I thought the military had something called there's a software that they have that is SAP. I can't remember what it is.
ERP, they probably.
Like EBP?
It's some
I
software.
mean, that's
I
kind of
cannot-
like tied in.
Yes, they have a software that is SAP. It may not show it in the front end, you know, but I know there's a software that is at least the procurement portion of it, because I've taught in Clean before, and I have some students who, you know, they say, oh, this looks like something we use in NAG or something. I don't know what it is, but anyway, like I told the other gentleman or the other lady, thank you. Oh, yeah, thank you for your service, and I hope you get. I hope you get out everything that you wanted to get out of it. Okay. Who is Mike Mikel 1107 at yahoo.com?
Michael, it's
Is that
Carmen.
you? Oh, I'm so sorry.
Carmen is my first name.
Oh, okay. Oh, Carmen. Okay, that's it. Oh, yeah, I'm getting it.
And I did audit one of your classes.
Yes, I did. I remember I was in my best behavior, right?
Yeah.
You could remember.
I remember you now that you smile. Now that you, that's why I said I need to put the, yeah, now when you smile, I remember you. So, yes.
My background is kind of diverse. Accounting, BS in accounting, and a master's in business. And what I really am good at is being a liaison between IT and other functional areas of an organization. It has been basically accounting. So I'm not a business analyst, but that's kind of where I think I will excel.
So it's almost like a subject matter expert. Is that what you're saying? Where you're sitting in between the ABABR and the okay.
Yeah. Because I have not just have education, hands-on experience and supervisory experience in the key functional areas of organizations, like your HR, your accounting, some IT and program stuff. At this particular time, I'm unemployed. I haven't been unemployed for 2 years. November will be 2 years. And I don't get a lot of pull, which I think I should, but I don't. And I'm not sure why that is. But I need something that will catapult me up further. Certification would be really good. My experience with SAP was, I guess, I don't know, surface. You know, I knew no back end. It would just do this, do this, do this, and you know, I knew there was more, but I was limited at access, and I knew the accounting side, but I can't get to it. I could only research and pull whatever I could, so I was very limited. But I knew, in having that limitation, I'm like, I don't know if they're doing it right or wrong or what. I couldn't even weigh in, because, and so just these few days has just opened my eyes, and it's just very exciting to see how it works on the back end and why. And I love to tell people, well, this is why this. I love to do that, and I couldn't do it, so I was really stressed.
Because everything, and we're going to talk about that. How your access to the system is defined by your roles in your profile. Okay, if you are a purchasing person, you will have access in transaction codes that end in 1, 2, and 3, and I will talk about that later on. But you will have only display roles in other areas. Okay, so they don't open it up to you. It depends on the roles that are assigned to your profile, and we're going to talk about that later on. Okay, so welcome. Who is David? Oh no, who is Colette?
I'm Colette.
Okay, hi.
Hi. Sorry I'm late. I sent you a text.
Okay.
What brings me here? I did 22 years in the Navy, and probably 12 years ago, the Navy took on SAP, and that was about the time I was about to transfer to do another role, to be a database administrator for another system. So I had very limited access to SAP. So I too have a master's of business administration.
All of you are overqualified in this class. Like first class full of masters. I think I'm the only one. Oh well, I have.
Like I'm a high school.
No, don't believe that.
So every job I applied to, even though I have 22 years of logistics management, supply chain management, inventory management, purchasing, all that stuff, they want to see SAP. So that's why I'm here. My goal is to be the director of materials management in one of the area hospitals.
Oh, girl, maybe you're gonna hire me. I'll you up. Maybe. Okay, you know, sometimes when you put in, sometimes when you put in 22 years of experience, right? And your boss only has 10 years.
Oh,
Do
yeah.
you know that can be very intimidating?
Yeah.
Have you ever thought that may be the reason why you're not getting the hits?
I interviewed with McKesson, and the leader of the warehouse or whatever, what they call him, a location manager. He only had a bachelor's, and when he saw my master's, and
it feels
started
very
flipping,
intimidated.
he was like, I think you're gonna be bored here.
Yeah.
I
I don't think I
I
am.
know, I always tell them, well, let me be bored. Let me tell you that I'm bored.
Yeah.
Yes, give me the job, let me
Give
tell
me
you
the
that
job. I
I'm
agree
bored.
with
Yeah.
You know, so
I don't
those
have
are
to
the
do me like that.
kinds of things we're going to be talking about when we're talking about resume writing. How much information do you want to put in there? If they say there's a job that is saying 7 years and you put in 15, you're overqualified.
Yeah.
Even for me, who is interviewing you, you're overqualified. You know, now please do not well, if you call, well, now that we're recording, I may have to behave myself. You don't. I'm not saying that you should lie, but in my country, we say that you don't talk with both sides of your mouth. I don't have to explain that in English. You know, when you're talking, don't talk with both sides of your mouth. Don't bring out all your ammunition to show them what you have. You know, if they say they are looking for 7 years of experience and you have 20, your 7 years of experience should be, when you're writing the resume, say 7+ years. Do you understand what I'm saying?
Yes.
Don't put 20.
Yes.
I won't take you if you're
Yes.
20.
Yeah.
And I have 20. Because I'm saying to myself, I have to protect my job. If I come one day and I'm a bit drunk or whatever, they might put me in front of HR, and the next thing you're gone, who are they going to pick? Somebody that I hired with my own hand? These things happen. They don't come out and say because there are laws against discrimination, this. But to think that they don't happen in America and in the America of today, I don't know what you're drinking or what you're eating, but I don't want a part of it. So you need to be able to know and say, what do I take? I will show you my resume. My resume is 8 pages long. Okay, because I've been doing this forever. Do you understand what I'm saying? The question now is that they're now telling me that I have to bring my resume down to at least 2 or 4 pages. What do I pick? What do I pull out?
Yeah.
Because I've worked in some of the best companies. I've worked at Shell, I've worked at ExxonMobil, I've worked for IBM. So which one do you think I should pull out? The one that is the oldest is some of them that are the best.
Yeah.
So there's a method to the madness. I'm not pulling out me. I'm just going to tell you what works for me and what I've seen when I interview people. I'm not going to pull out my oldest. Okay,
Right.
I'm going to put it there. ExxonMobil, this date to this date, and then what I did. And then if you want us to discuss it, then we will discuss it. But I'm not going to pull out. I worked hard for every single one of those positions in there.
And they say only 10 years.
And they say only 10 years, okay? So whatever they say, then you have to start looking at that resume, okay? Your 10 years may be something that you did at Chick-fil-A.
Yeah.
What's Chick-fil-A going to do for me?
Yeah.
When I'm looking for an SAP
agree.
job. Do you understand what I'm saying? So there is a method to the madness. There are tricks to this business, okay? Because I don't care what it is. My contract with you is to get you into a job. And if I have to pull you by the hair of your chin, then that's what I'm going to do. Now you get there and make a fool of yourself. That's your business. But you're going to get it. Okay, because like I told you people in the class, this is equivalent to 3 years experience, on the job experience. Now, if you go in and say 5 years, there are certain people I would say, go ahead and put 5. That's because they already have exposure and experience to SAP. Someone like I who has done the various modules. Someone, do you understand what I'm saying? Then you have to make the resume worth reading. Because you're not the only resume that is going in there. You need to use the catchwords, because if you think that they're looking through all the resumes, you're lying. They're looking for catchwords. They put it into some kind of voodoo box, and they're looking for keywords, and then it pops out. So if you don't have the keywords, but you have the experience, you're sorry.
Can I tell you stuff?
They do send it to
And because of the keywords, I was like, let me keep that.
Yeah.
Because they might look for that.
Yeah.
So I have a 4-page resume. So you said yours was 8 or 7. I'm glad to hear that.
Yeah, mine is 8 or 7. And you know what I do? What I tell my students is keep a master resume of everything you've done. Have that master resume. Now, when you're looking at the job and they say need this, then you pull from that master resume and put it into your resume. Do you understand what I'm saying? and then you go from there. Don't put into your resume nothing you cannot defend. You have, because all the man is going to do is that, oh, you said you did this. What were your what was your experience?
Right.
Then they say, what are your weaknesses? What are your strengths? Of course, you will take your strengths and turn them into weaknesses. You know, there's a trick, there's a method to the madness. And we're going to talk about that, and we're going to look at that. I'm just going to tell you what has worked for me. Do I know everything? Heck no. But I do know a lot because I've hired, I've interviewed, I've been interviewed. You know, it all comes. There is a method to the madness. Okay? Okay, my dear, what brings you here? You're the last person.
She's new.
Okay, I know. That's right.
Okay.
Yeah, she's not on my list.
Okay.
I'll give her a passport.
Aren't we on here? Aren't we
What,
on
sorry?
here?
No, Yolanda's not here.
Oh,
And then that one other.
Oh, the other David.
oh,
His name David.
So I think I'm interested. Back home, I was working with the federal government on data collection. So I want to go into data.
Data. Okay, you know that in SAP, everything is what? Data and configuration. Is that what we talked about yesterday? You configure at the back end and you input the data into the front end. So when you say data, what is it you want to do with the data? You want to pull data, you want to manipulate data, what is it you want to do? Because if you say elections, you said you did elections something, right? Is that what you said? You said, what did you say? I didn't hear you.
Yeah, I said I work with the federal government.
With the okay. Was that in Abuja?
Yeah, at Lagos.
In Lagos, okay. Okay. She's one of my people. That's why I know what she's talking about.
Okay, because I'm like trying to understand.
Yes. Okay. Okay, because you know, any system, any ERP application or whatever, it has data. All we're trying to do is manipulate the data and pull the requested data and run the type of reports they want to do. Or you know, has anybody heard of crystal reporting? Okay, that's just making the data look pleasing to the eye. You know, so there's so many things. There's so much you can do. Okay, and I always tell my students, they say, why MM? I say, why not MM? Okay, because everything feeds into MM or feeds out of MM. Do you understand what I'm saying? And I always tell them, get a core module under your belt. Once you've gotten the core module under your belt, then you can do the industry-specific modules. Why would I want to do IS oil? Specific SAP. Supposing I get a job in manufacturing. Do you understand what I'm saying? With MM, I've worked with IS oil, I've done consulting, I've worked with the manufacturing, anywhere that they move material or services across the supply chain, they need somebody like us in the various capacities that they may come through. Okay? Does that make sense? Okay. So, is there anybody online?
That's what I have. I don't know.
Because everybody
There's one person, but I don't know if she's on.
He's not here.
Okay, he's not here.
You can check the attendee tab and see who's logged on.
Yeah.
Like
New people. Oh, really?
Your
Yeah,
attendance
full class
check.
there. Cool, for sure. Yeah.
Okay. Well, I just wanted to know. Okay, I sent you guys out some handouts yesterday.
Yes.
Okay, I want to go and start looking at those handouts.
Yes.
The first thing I want to look at is this handout that I sent you on the course outline.
Okay.
Sure.
Logging in SAP. I'm actually on the, it doesn't matter. I'm trying to log in. And I have my login information, but something's wrong here. So we can say we can log in.
Okay, what does it say? What is the error message?
Well, I don't have an error message. Well, I do, but I click on this, GPT.
It's supposed to be
Yes.
So then I have to type that in.
well, you might have to do the new item.
Okay, you know what? Let's do that because I will have to do that for you and give you a user ID. I want to first start by talking about the course outline for right now, that I sent to you guys and I talked about yesterday, okay?
Okay.
You see that I've divided it into 7 sections, okay? If you've managed to look at this. So I say what we are going to do is the importance of MN as a core module in CSCM, supply chain management and logistics, okay? Then we're going to look at, today we're going to look at the SAP methodology, okay? We've talked about the importance of the data and the configuration, right? In SAP, we looked at, we were going to look at the importance of the tables using SE16. Okay, I'm going to try to do that again. And then this define and assign concept in configuration, we're going to do it when we're looking at the organizational structure. Okay, because in SAP, for you to be able to set up the organizational structure, you have to define what it is you want to do and assign. Okay, you cannot assign what has not been defined. Okay, so that's the logic and that's the rule that we're going to be using. Okay, then we're going to this same thing here and this one here, we're going to put it in here because this organizational structure as it relates to MM is done in the what? In SPRO,
Yes,
which
what
is
you
the
showed us
back end.
yesterday.
So when you log into SAP, right, once you log in your user ID, it takes you to the front end.
Yes.
For you to be able to go to the configuration in the back end, that transaction code is SPRO, S-P-R-O. So we're going to be looking at that when we do the organizational structure. Okay? I've already done the introduction, right? I said SAP is made up of what? Data and configuration. I keep saying this over and over and over again. There is a method to this madness. If I keep repeating something, it's because it's important. If I keep repeating something, it's because I think you should write it down. If I keep repeating something, it's because what? It's an exam question or an interview question. Okay? I'm not repeating it because I don't know what next I'm going to say. I'm repeating it because I want you to understand certain things that I say and how important they are and how later on it will come full circle and begin to make sense. Okay? Everybody understand?
Yes.
Okay. So I said here, the approach is to break them down in terms of appropriate transaction codes. Okay? What did I tell you about SAP is menu path driven or transaction code driven. It's one of 2 ways. You will always have a transaction code which is put in the command field, or you will have to go through the menu tree. Remember what I told you yesterday? You will always have a what is called menu path, okay? But you may not always have a transaction code. Does that make sense? You will always have a menu path, but you may not always have a transaction code. And how do I know what it is or how it is? I go into here, and then I put in what is your 101. Oh, this is one of my students that I taught. Hold on. Hey, what field? 101. Hey, how are you? Yes, can I call you right back? Okay then. Are you still working? Okay, I'll call you right back. Okay, so my user ID is 12. This is okay. So what was my question? My statement. My statement was whether or not you will have a transaction code, right, will depend on what the task you're trying to do. Okay, SAP is menu path driven, right, or the command field takes only transaction codes. Okay, this is the importance of this session here, is where you see what system you're in, because sometimes if you're a configuration specialist, right, you may have 3 different clients open: your development, your testing, and your production. Okay, so you need to know where you are. Okay, because configuration is only done in development. Production is live. You don't do anything testing-wise in production. In fact, if you go into production and try to get into SPRO, it will tell you you're not allowed, you're not authorized. You can't make changes in production. We're going to go through that today. Okay? So this tells you the client, this tells you the user, the person who logged in, right? Okay? This tells you the program that is currently being run. So if I go in here and I say, what is it called? ME21N, which is to create a purchase order, I hit enter. If I come in here, this is the program that is running for that transaction. Okay? Then this is the transaction code, ME21N, and all this has to do with basis.
So we're going to see, quick question, why SC16?
SC16 is where the tables are being held.
But why not, I was saying, why not in SC16N?
You can do SC16,
Okay.
SC16N.
So for the.
SC16 is the old transaction. Anything that says N is a new transaction that started with 4.6. Okay? Does that make sense? Anything, I can go in and say ME21, no N. Do you understand what I'm saying? That's the old form. And when we start doing the purchase order, you will see the difference. When I say ME21N, you see my header, my line item overview, and my line item detail is all in one page. But if I go back into the system and I say \N, ME21, and I hit enter, it goes page by page. This is my header. Then once I hit enter, it is going to go to my line item. Then once I hit enter, it goes to my it breaks it down. Okay. Whereas in these new transactions, everything is smack that right there in front of you to see.
See, another question was the program where it was your program. Was this, it was SAP, so that's what I would put in the table, SC16.
No. And when I'm saying table, the data that goes into the tables is not the program. This is the program that is running this transaction. And I will show that to you because we tried to do it last time in class, but I was doing it using a user ID for a student, not a teacher, faculty. Now I've gotten that faculty, I'm going to see if I can use that, show you what the SE16 is. The SE16 holds the tables. Remember I told you everything goes into tables, right guys? You have the header table, you have the line item table. For each one of the, what is it you're trying to do? Okay? So if I'm saying create a purchase order, all that header, all this information here, which is the header, will go into the header table. All the other information will go into the line item table. Okay? So everything goes into tables. So now let's look at this. So when I say appropriate transaction code, your document type. Okay? Your document type defines the type of whatever thing you're trying to do. Hold on. So if I go in here, you see this order type, that's the same thing as document type. If you pull this down, it will show you here the various types of purchase orders I can create. I can create a dummy PO. I can create a standard PO, whatever this means. I can create an EUB. I don't know what these are. Okay, this must be specific to this client. Okay. I can create a framework order. I can create a standard PO, or I can create a stock transport order. These are the document types. Your document type, so if I put in document type here, FO, okay, your document type now begins to control the look and the feel of the screen. Because when I say a framework order, right, a framework order will have a validity period. A standard NBPO will not have a validity period, a beginning and an end. So your document type now begins to control the look and the feel of the screen. And we're going to look at that later on in the class. Okay? Then we're talking about what? Item categories. We're going to talk about that when we're looking at transactional data. Okay? And then we will also be able to examine the resultant tables, how to find these tables, and how we can auto-fill certain fields using what? PID. We did that what? Yesterday. locating the PID, putting your field on the cursor, hitting F1, F9, right guys?
Correct.
And then taking that PID and then going to user system, user profile, own data, going to the PID tab and entering that information.
I'm glad you showed me that. We were talking, Star and I were talking about that.
That was from yesterday.
I know, last week, she and I were talking about that, and I saw you do that, so I was glad you did that.
Oh, okay. Okay, so we're going to be doing that. Then when we are talking about, then we are going to start looking at data. Okay? We're going to look at the organizational data as it relates to MM. I'm not doing organizational data for SD, neither am I doing it for FI. I'm just doing it for MM. And in MM, we are responsible for the plant. We are responsible for the storage location. We are responsible for the purchasing organization. And then we're responsible for the purchasing group. Those 4 things we are responsible for. So when I go on the concept of define and assign, right guys? So what do? I will define my plant, then assign it to the company code. Do you understand what I'm saying? I will define my purchasing organization and then decide, is it going to be assigned to my company code? Is it going to be plant specific? Or is it going to be a reference? We're going to talk about all that. Okay? Then my storage location. Remember I said your storage location is where what? The goods are physically kept. So if we are going to do inventory management, this is where we count the goods. This plant must have at least what? 1 storage location. Then the purchasing group are the yous and the me's that are responsible for purchasing. It includes the name of the person, the address, the phone number, his fax number, and all that good stuff. Okay? Remember what I told you yesterday, SAP is nothing more than what? Building blocks. You have to build from the very beginning to be able to get to the end, which is what? Transactional data. Right, guys? Because if I say purchase order create here, it's going to ask me, what is my purchasing organization? You see that US00? You see that? That was from where? Yesterday. It just defaulted. Can I change it? Yes. So if I don't have a purchasing organization, I cannot create a purchase order. So I have to build from the very beginning. Does that make sense, guys? Yes. Okay. Then we are going to talk about the. What are we going to talk about? Then after we've done this, then we move to master data. We're going to define master data. SAP, the definition I like is master data is data that if you enter it correctly and properly the first time, you don't have to go back and mess with it. Because there are certain master data that once you've entered it and you hit save, there's nothing you can do with it. The only way it will leave your system is archived. And one of those data is your material master record. Once a material master record is created and you make a mistake, the only thing you can do is to lock it. But it will always show up. But when you want to use it, it will tell you, error message, this material is locked. So you can only get rid of it when you're archiving. Okay? Then we are going to be looking at the definition, the applicable tables. Okay? This item category is for transactional data. It shouldn't be here. That's my bad. Now we're going to take each one of these master data and we're going to define it as what? Time dependent or time independent. What is time dependent? That means that it has a beginning and an end. In SAP, that means it has a validity period. So if I create a master data and it is outside the validity period, the system is going to tell me that this data is no longer active. It is not within the validity period. Okay? So we're going to divide that into two. Your time independent master data is time is of no relevance to that data. It's going to be there regardless of time. Okay? These two here, your material and your vendor, are your time independent. Time is of no relevance to them.
The material.
What is a material master record? For each material that we are going to put into inventory,
Right.
it must have a record, master record. Does it mean that every material must have a master record? Heck no. Because there are some materials that are consumables, and I gave you examples of that yesterday. Okay? For each material, okay, operative word is that it's going into inventory. That means we are putting it into what? A storage location. It must have a material master record, because that's how we refer to the material.
Is that primarily for your finished goods or still would it be?
It can be anything based on what? The type, material type.
Right.
Okay? So, what is a vendor master record? Every vendor that we're going to be using in the system must have a vendor master record. Even if I was an employee in a company, I would have a vendor master record. But how do I differentiate them is by the account group.
Yes.
There are some vendors that we use for ordering. There are some freight vendors. There are some service vendors. And that's where the account group comes into play. Okay? We're going to take that and look at that and break that down. Okay? Your vendor master record is a good example of integration in SAP MM, because your vendor master record is controlled by MM and FI. We control that master data. Okay? So when we're talking about integration points in SAP MM, your integration point begins once you create your plant and you assign it to a company code. That's one integration. Master data, once you create your material master record, and FI fills in the accounting tabs. There are two tabs, accounting tab 1, accounting tab 2. FI fills that. That's the second point of integration. Third point of integration, once you do this vendor master record, okay, we share it with FI. Because in that vendor master record, there's what we call a recon account, a reconciliation account that maps to the GL account of that vendor to be paid. Okay? Yeah. Is that too much? Are you guys ready to go home?
The integration point.
Points of integration, 2 points of integration.
Plant, material master record, vendor master record. Okay? Now, these other ones, source list, quota arrangement, outline agreements, are to enable us to expedite the process. Okay? So, what is a source list? I am saying, what vendors can I use to procure this material in this plant? What source can I use? So in a source list, I can make a vendor fixed. Say, every time you want to procure this material, this is the vendor that you're going to be using. Or I can make a vendor blocked. I'm saying, every time you want to procure this material, I don't ever want you to use this vendor because he is horrible for whatever reason.
So the source list is a block list? It's
a blocked, a fixed list. You can run MRP with it, materials replenishment planning. You will see when we start looking at it. Okay? Then your quota arrangement, like I explained yesterday, it allows various vendors, right, to be able to participate in supply.
What is it called?
A quota arrangement.
And allow other vendors to get a price.
Okay. So that quota arrangement, we can set the quota in the material master record. Okay? Then we talk about outline agreement. What is an outline agreement? Like I said in class last time, it is just like a purchase order with a period. Okay? So your source list, your quota arrangement, and your outline agreements are what? Time dependent. They have a beginning and an end. Your outline agreements are made up of two types of agreements. You have contracts and a scheduling agreement. Your contracts are made of two types of contracts. You have a value contract and a quantity contract. And how do I know which is which? By the what? Document type.
By the what?
Document type. Okay? Then we have a scheduling agreement. Same denoted by a document type. But what is the difference? When you look at them, they look the same. The difference between a contract and a scheduling agreement is that the scheduling agreement has lines, delivery lines against it. So if I say I am doing an agreement for 1,000 pieces of timber, okay? My company, you cannot just come and dump 1,000 pieces of timber in my area. I don't have the facilities to keep it. So what I'm saying is that on a certain day, deliver a certain amount. Yes, like on a certain day, you deliver a certain amount until my 1,000 has been exhausted. Your contracts do not have delivery lines against it. Your scheduling has delivery lines against it. Okay. One thing that you should note is that in nowadays, a lot of people don't use these scheduling line agreements anymore. Okay. What they do is they use a purchase requisition, which is a demand, and then break it down to the delivery date on per line item. Right. The same material will say 100, deliver this, deliver this. Okay? Okay. Then we are going to look at service master record. What is logistics? MM is under logistics. Logistics is the movement of material and or services across the what? Supply chain. So as we're looking at materials, all these are materials related. We're going to be looking at the service master record. We're just going to take a peek at it. Okay? Because once I am going to do this service master record, I have to trigger something in the back end in configuration, which is called ESM, External Service Management, which is a subdivision of MM. MM is humongous. So most people do not use the service master record. You know what we do? We use a standard PO, ME21N, and then we denote it with an item category D for service. So that PO that would normally work and look like a materials PO now becomes a service PO and acts and looks like a service. Okay? So that instead of receiving that PO with the goods received as we do with a material received into inventory, we receive it using a service entry sheet, which is the goods receipt equivalent for services. Does that make sense? Okay? So we're going to look at all that. Yeah. Okay? Okay. Thank you, I broke my golf club. I'm very oriented and talking. Okay? Then we're going to start looking at the transactional data. Once we've entered our organizational data, we've entered our master data, now we can start saying purchase order. Because Once you say, what's your purchasing organization? We already have that. What is your plant? We already have that. What is your storage location? We already have that. Who is the person that is going to be doing the procurement, the purchasing? We already have that. But we could not do the transactional data until we have set up the two other things on top. Okay? And once we start looking at that transactional data, we are going to be looking at it from two different aspects. One, vendor known, we know the vendor, and the other one, vendor unknown. Vendor unknown means that what? We don't know the vendor we want to choose. So we introduce what in the real world they call bidding. Okay? You send out an RFQ. We receive a quotation that has the price. We now do a price comparison where we choose the vendor based on what? Price. And then we drag it and drop it into the PO, and we're done. So we are going, when we're talking about the purchasing, we're going to be looking at vendor known, vendor unknown, those two processes.
So you're saying we drag the quote, the RFQ,
yes.
And put that into that.
You can drag the quote, you can drag the requisition. There's so many ways, and you're going to hear me use this so many times. So many ways to skin a cat.
Vendor known are the vendors that are on the list.
Vendor known, you know the particular vendor that you're going to be using.
And they're in the database, in the tables. You have the information about those vendors.
Yes, exactly.
But the vendor unknown.
You have the same information, database, it's in the tables, but you have 4 or 5 vendors that can actually send you fulfill the order, and you just want to give them an opportunity to take part in it so that you can choose the best price. And the ones that you do not choose, you send out what? A rejection letter.
So then when you rank these vendors, only the top vendor has
you asking the question.
Point.
Yes, when you eventually rank the vendors according to tier 1, tier 2, remember what we talked about yesterday? Your vendor 1 can be just a 2-way match, where you don't need to have the goods receipt to pay the vendor once he has presented his invoice. Okay? Those vendors are going to be flagged differently. Okay? And they are going to be invoiced different. Instead of using what is it called? Miro. Okay, we're going to be using what we call ERS settlement, evaluated receipt settlement. We're going to look at all of that when we look at the vendor, when we create the vendor. Okay? Then, after we've done the purchasing, because here, this area here is what I call the P2P process, purchase to pay. Some people call it PTP, purchase to pay. Some people call it RTC, rack to tech. It's all the same thing. It's a 3-way match, really and truly, most of the time. Okay? So this area here, this transactional area here, is what we call the P2P process. From purchasing to inventory to what? Invoicing.
P2P.
PT. Some people call it PTP, P2P, RTC, R2.
I call it P2P because that's what you gave me.
It's all the same thing. So when you see in a job thing, they say RTC, it's the same thing. If they say P2P, it's the same thing. All they need for you to understand is this: purchasing, inventory, invoicing. Okay? When you're talking about inventory, that is the second leg, and we're at what level? We've left the plant for purchasing. We're now at what? Storage location, because that's where the goods are what? Physically kept. Okay? We are this inventory management. I like when I teach the class, I say inventory management equals to movement type. Movement type is inventory management. Your movement type is a 3-digit field that is the backbone of inventory. Okay? When you are doing inventory, certain documents are created. You will have a material document to show the physical movement, and then you will have the accounting to show the accounts that are going to be hit. Okay? You will always have a material document. Whether or not you have the accounting document will be determined about whether there is whether the movement, what's my English? You will be determined whether there is movement. Okay? Because there are some movements that we do in SAP that do not result in an accounting document being generated. For example, if I say goods receipt, blocked stock, like the name implies, it is a goods receipt. So it will give you a material movement that it is moving, but it is a block stock. That means no value has been added. So there will be no accounting document. This is very, very high level overview. So some of you are looking at me as if you had a gun, you would shoot me, okay? And I will shoot you back.
No, I just never said one.
So when we're doing like a storage location, there's not gonna be an accounting doc that's created.
Because it is at the storage location level, it doesn't involve the plant.
Okay.
Does that make sense?
Yeah.
Now, if I am moving from one storage location in one plant to a different storage location in another
Then
plant,
it's costing you.
then there's going to be an accounting document.
Yeah, okay.
This is, well, even in the stock trade, because that's a 456, right? If we're moving it, the storage location is moving it from one plant to the next, but it's between
It
companies.
depends on what we're doing. You can do an MB1A, you can do an
Yeah,
MB1C.
right.
Yes, okay.
Right.
I don't want to
Yeah.
go too far off point because I don't want you people to get lost. Okay.
Okay.
But once you say a 456, that is the movement type that I'm talking about. Okay. Then we're going to look at the movement type. What happened when we are just doing a brand new configuration, right?
Okay.
And we have the material in the inventory, and we now want to move it into SAP. Do you understand what I'm saying? We already have this plant running.
Okay.
Okay.
Yeah.
Do you understand what I'm saying?
Yeah.
We already have our building, but we have now implemented SAP.
Right.
So if you look at SAP now, it won't have inventory.
Right.
The inventory is in the old system.
Oh, yeah.
How do we move that inventory into SAP? We have some movement tests that we use once and for all. That's your 561, your 563, and your 565. Where they are going to will depend on your movement type. If I say I'm doing a 561, okay, I'm moving it into unrestricted stock. If I say I'm doing a 553, I'm moving it into block stock. And we're going to talk about these stock types when we do inventory. Okay, we're going to sit in inventory for a while because you need to understand it, because that is the basis, that is the one of the big areas. Okay, so we're going to be looking at that. We're going to be looking at goods receipts. When we say we are receipting, that means we are receiving into. Okay, when we say we are doing goods issue, we are receiving out of our storage location, and we're either giving it to a vendor, a customer, because when we're in MM and we're receiving it, we'll use vendors. When we are issuing out, we are issuing out to customers, we are issuing out to production, or we are issuing out to various reasons, and all that is determined by what? Your movement rule type. Okay? And then we're going to talk about stock transfer. That is, I am physically moving the stock from one storage location to another storage location within a plant, or one storage location to another storage location within two plants. And we have a one-step approach or a two-step approach. When I say a one-step approach, I'm only going to use one movement type, and it's going to do the movement and the put away at the same time. But when I say two-step approach, you can actually follow the audit, the transaction as it's moving. Okay, I want to go through this quickly, then you can take a break And those of you who drink can go and drink. Okay. Then we're going to talk about transfer posting. We have 3 basic stock types: unrestricted, blocked, and quality inspection. So when I say I'm talking about transfer posting, I'm talking about changing the logical approach. That means I'm either changing from unrestricted to blocked, unrestricted to quality, quality to block. I can do it any which way I like. Do you understand what I'm saying? So the difference between a stock transfer is a physical move. What is it called? Transfer posting is a logical move. I'm changing the nature of the material. Okay?
Transfer posting.
That's the transfer posting. Don't write too much on it because this is, like I said, high level overview. I don't want you to get confused and not come tomorrow. Okay?
No, once you, because we're gonna have examples of how we're gonna do.
We're gonna break it down. Yeah. Okay? I'm just telling you what we are going to be doing. Okay? Then we're going to do cycle counting. Okay? Why do we do cycle counting? Because we need to be able to tally what SAP says is in the books,
Right.
as well as in what is on the ground.
Right.
Okay? So my warehouse, my storage location says it has 15,000 pieces of lumber. SAP says you have 14. There's a discrepancy. We have to count. Okay? Now SAP will allow us to post the count difference if we have what? Tolerances, variances. Okay? So what the system says, and there are different types of counting. We can count sample, random. We can, we can say, okay, I'm just going to count these. Like if it's fast-moving goods, I just want to count those. Yeah. Or we can do a cycle counting where we do it every quarterly. And what happens is that, like I told you yesterday, you go into Walmart like 1 o'clock in the morning or something, you see those white sheets of paper, they're counting. So we're going to look at that in SAP. Then we're going to do invoice verification. Okay, we're going to look at the 2-way match. We're going to look at the 3-way match. We're going to receive and pay our invoices, see what happens, and then we're going to look at the importance of the baseline date. Your baseline date triggers your payment terms in the vendor master record. So if I say my payment term is immediate, my baseline date is tomorrow, what does that mean? I have to pay tomorrow. If I say my baseline date is net 15, net 15 is counted from the baseline date. The baseline date is triggered from the vendor master record on the payment terms.
It starts at this issue, right?
So it's what
No,
we put
goods issue is when you're issuing out. So that's SD and that's customer.
Right.
Your baseline date is set in the payment terms of the vendor master record. Okay, and it takes into consideration, it may take into consideration a lot of things like goods receipt processing time, and all those kinds of things, but your goods, the payment term is in your vendor master record. So it looks to the vendor master record and says, hey, what is the payment term that has been agreed on this? And then it starts to count. So if your invoice is blocked for whatever reason, okay, you need to go into that transaction that holds the blocked invoice, find out why it is blocked, if it's for quantity, for price, for date, whatever, review, make the corrections, and release it. Because if not, somebody is going to be fired. Because that is sitting in a log, right, which is supposed to have to be checked constantly, because that is what is driving the payment. Okay? Any questions?
Review, and what else? When you're dealing with a payment, so you review the terms, what expected thing to be.
No, you have to review the term.
And you release it, the last thing is release it.
Yes.
What's the second thing?
You have to review it, look what for the reason code why it's in that queue, okay? And then that's if it's stuck. Normally it will process, but it may be stuck for price.
Yeah,
Because remember your P2P thing is what you ordered must be equal to what you receive, must be equal to what you are being invoiced for. If there's any discrepancy, it will block.
It will block.
So you look at the reason for the review, then the next thing, before you release it, what's next?
You have to reconcile what the reason is. If there's a payment discrepancy, why is there a discrepancy? Do you understand what I'm saying? So there are special people, and these are high-level people in the business who will review it, and once they've reviewed it, then they release it, and then it goes on its merry way. Okay?
Yeah, like
once that is done, has come to an end. We are finished. Okay? Because once we have invoiced, FI picks it up with a job, and I'll show you how those jobs are run, okay, and how we look at those jobs, and pays according to the payment term in the vendor master record. Okay? Then once we've done that, okay, we are going to start looking at some other configuration in the system that will that is for your own benefit. You're going to look at release strategies. What is a release strategy? That's an electronic signature. Okay. Okay. And remember, I told you yesterday, if you have, you say from $1 to 10,000, somebody has to review it. From this to this, somebody has to review. Do you understand what I'm saying? So those are your release. You release it, you approve it, it goes to the next person. Because if you do not release them and approve them, it will not go to the next thing. So if I'm creating a purchase order and I don't release it, I will not be able to block to create a purchase order, because the error message will say it has not been released. Do you understand what I'm talking about? Okay. Then we're going to talk about automatic account assignment. How does the system know what account to hit? Okay. Then we're going to talk about pricing conditions. How do we get the actual price based on the conditions to be able to get the net price for a material? Then we're going to talk about output conditions. What's output conditions? The printing. How do we send the information? Some companies, some vendors like for you to print it. Other companies say that you send it by fax. Others say you should send it by EDI. Others say you should send it by camel. How do you want to be able to receive your document? That's what we call outputting or messaging in SAP. That has to be set up. And it is set up using in the vendor master record, using what we call the partnering functions. Okay? Once we've done all that, then we're going to start looking at the resume writing. What does your resume look like? What do you need to change? Just my suggestions to you. Okay? It's not binding. Okay? And then taking the exam certification. So as we progress through each stage I'm going to give you 2 exams. One is to gently lead you into the process, okay? And the second one will be taken from exams from the SAP exam itself. Okay? Does that make sense? Yes. So one of them will be the ones that I have created just to lead you slowly into it, and then the other one will be the SAP exam itself. And at the end of the course, at the end of the class, we're going to have a real exam scenario. Okay. Okay? You take those questions and you crack the sucker. Okay? I don't care. They will not tell you 51% pass. It's either pass or fail.
Oh, okay. Yeah. I was wondering if they give you a grade or would you say pass?
No, it's just pass or fail. Okay. So if you take the exam and I get 50 and you get 90, we're still passing. Do you understand what I'm saying? So don't be intimidated or whatever it is. Okay. Now, finally, before we take a 15-minute break, I want you people to sit down together and decide what you are going to do and how you are going to go about setting up this consulting company for your presentations. You will do a presentation for me. You will be properly dressed, all tattoos taken away, all nose rings put aside, all PSS, only one person, okay? You will do it as if you are in front of a client making a presentation, okay? We will call in people to critique it, consultants, to come in and critique it, okay? So you will be ready for what SAP has to offer. You're not working in silos, you will work together as a group.
Okay.
Even though each
That's what
of you
I'm
will be given a particular thing to work on. So I can say you work on vendor master. Now, if it's a material master record, I'm going to say 2 people work on that because that's humongous. 2 people work on vendor master record. You do source, you do this, you do this. But that presentation must be crystal clear. This is what some of my students, and I wanted to show you this so that you can see that it is. Where is my PowerPoint? This is my PowerPoint. This is what some of my students did for their presentation. Okay, this is this is their navigation presentation. Okay, you see, course instructor, team leader, and these are the team members that put together this documentation just on navigation. Like I told you yesterday, don't regurgitate to me the handout that I gave you. I wrote it, I know it. Do you understand what I'm saying? You have to do the work. Okay? You're not going to be making $40, $50, $60 just by doing nothing.
Yeah, it doesn't make sense.
And even if you start by doing nothing, I'm telling you, the day you come into the office and you can't turn on your computer,
The day you leave.
that is the day you are going to sit in an office with HR and your manager, and they're going to tell you things you did that you couldn't remember that you did, things you did. Some people don't even give you probation. You are gone. And let me tell you how they take you away. You will not even be able to pick up the phone to tell somebody to come pick you up. Okay? You will not be able to, you can take your bag, but anything else they will tell you, they'll put it in the mail. It is worse than being in Kim Jong-un's concentration camp. It's very humiliating. How do I know? It's happened to them.
Yes.
Okay? So my advice to you people, once you're in the business and you're doing it, I would take but I would take a stick. You see that knowledge transfer that you're going through? Try to download some of that stuff for you to use for yourself later on.
Oh yeah.
This book, as if you do it completely and properly like some of the students have done it, this is all you need. Because you're going to have to want to come into the system one day and you won't have access.
Yeah.
Because they're planting the system
Yeah,
for the
they
next
go
class. So it is how well you've done it, how many screenshots you put in there that will trigger your brain. Because the interviews go like this. Those of you who have done SAP interviews before. It's HR that will come on. HR don't know diddly squad. In fact, you're going to be the one telling them. Okay. Then you're going to do the technical interview. That is, what did you do? How did you do? Well, then you start putting the transactions, stuff like that. That is where if you have worked the system, it's different from if you've read a book.
Yeah.
Do you understand what I'm saying? Then once you have passed that technical interview, the face-to-face is nothing more than meet the group. Do they like you? Do you like them? So if you've done the technical interview, 9 times out of 10, you're in. Unless there are 2 or 3 people they are considering. And then it depends on how you work face-to-face. That is why I say if you have tattoos, hide them or paint them or do something. You people think I'm joking.
No, I know.
I think it's a little more accepted now, but I hear you.
I
tattoos, but I got you. I know what you're
Okay,
saying.
some people, they will not take it. It depends on where you're going. If I'm working for an IBM or a whatever, you can't come in there with your hair up to here. They don't say that's the reason why they didn't take you, but they will say the other candidate was better qualified. Why?
Yeah,
because his hair was cut shorter. They won't tell you why. They've done it. So this is the navigation this class put together. Okay? Okay? And I gave it to you to use as a reference point to see what my expectations are. okay? And so that you can go from there. I mean, this is explicit. I mean, you don't need, if I gave this to you people, I can tell you to come to the next class and teach a navigation class. And all what you do, just bring this. This cannot be more, excuse my French. Do you understand what I'm saying? And like I told you in class, we will take it, and then at the end of it all, we are going to make it into like a manual, a book, and that is your implementation cycle. When you go for these interviews, you say, must have what? One implementation cycle. Are we lying? No. Did we do an implementation cycle? Yes, because we created our organizational structure, we did the master data, we documented it.
So you're saying we can use this as a reference on our resume? Because I have one full cycle, but it mostly asks for two is what my experience has been, and I've been wanting to do that. So this is
okay, your two is really, and your two is maybe you're going, because you already have the experience, so you're two. But for this class, 3 to 5 years is one.
Yes.
Don't go beyond one, because you will know. They know. Okay, so don't overdo, because they say they will pay up to 70 and then they're offering you 50 and you say, what the hell, let me take the 70 by saying I did 2.
Right.
You are creating a problem for yourself.
Actually, a little more of a failure part.
Yes.
Yes. And they start talking to you.
Yes. I was working in San Antonio. The job was fantastic. Okay, the relocation on its own was just unbelievable. Okay, I got there, I had to get an apartment, and I got there, I thoroughly hated it. I hated it with a passion. And that's when I realized that for me, money is not really everything. I think because I've done it before, I've made the money, I've lost the money. Do you understand what I'm saying? Money to me wasn't everything. And then you know what made me, what I realized? Stress kills.
Yes.
Stress kills. I used to leave on Friday because I have a son who was, come home I would walk in like about 10, 11 at night. Then I would go back on Sunday, get back in like 9 or whatever. And I was coming every weekend, my car was brand new. By the time I'd done a year and a half, I put 67,000 miles on it. Number one, my stress was here. I couldn't lift my hands. I don't know what they eat in San Antonio. My feet were swollen. Then I said to myself, actually, look at Sheba, that's my phone. Is it worth it? Because I was paying rent, and I wasn't going to live anywhere in San Antonio. I was going to live in an area because I was a single lady. So I wanted a place where I drive my car in and climb upstairs. My husband said, "No, why don't you live here?" I said to my husband, "Oh, I'm already sacrificing by going. So let me do." Do you understand what I'm saying? So when I looked at it and I looked at the money and everything, I said, like we say in Nigeria, it doesn't worth it. It does not worth it. That's all we say. It doesn't worth it. It wasn't worth it. Now, for you people who are young and free birds and everything, I'm sure you can go and you can love it. But my room and 4 children, 1 dog, 1 husband, 1 house that I had to clean, another one that I was paying. Hell no, it wasn't worth it. I'd rather come back here and make whatever, But for me, it was just I hated the job.
Yeah.
Every time I got up in the morning and I had to talk to my husband, had to cite me from my apartment to say to me, we need the money. I said, oh no, I don't think we need the money like that. But I couldn't lift my hand.
So the job was,
It's like you're gonna be dead. You're gonna have money, but you're gonna be dead.
But it was just the atmosphere.
No.
I know that.
The honest truth, I really didn't know the job that well. I thought I could pick it up, but they wanted you to do everything. I was the basis. I was FI, I was tester, they did CRM.
So was that the initial, when did they just throw that in on you?
No, the interview was MM.
Okay.
And then I was doing EDI, I was doing workflow.
So let me ask you a quick question. Sorry, if you don't mind.
You have to go to the lounge and they can massage his shoulder.
Agenda. And If you scroll up, just a little bit. Okay, so the release strength, really quickly. So I worked in
Boil?
So,
We on break?
director of manager.
Yes, and you guys can take a break. Please make sure you come back by 8:15.
Okay.
Okay?
But is that, so,
Your
but
release.
that was, what I was doing was limited strictly to customer service. So when the CSR, customer service representatives were, their limit was $20,000. And if they were over $20,000,
Somebody else has to approve.
exactly. So I was one of the people on the doing that setup. I was setting up the employees based on.
PPO is a transaction code, right?
Right, correct. But I guess my question is, I know that was for sales orders. Was PPO only also applied?
No, it's the same concept, but it's a different transaction. Yeah.
Okay. So does anybody know the user ID?
Okay, no, I have to give it to you. So, are you new completely? Are you new completely?
No, I was here twice last week.
Okay, so you already have a user ID?
So this is what I have. I think everybody had the same, I thought everybody had the same user ID, no?
We have different numbers, it's learn dash something.
Okay, so this is what that was. Hold on, let me go back.
I'm ready to get home. I ain't been
I
home
do.
since
Learn dash
this
8008.
morning. I ain't been home since this morning. I'm tired.
878.
No, yeah, 008.
So no 8 in front of it?
No.
Okay, so let's see. LE8. Cool. Yeah.
You got food?
I got some, it's just a bag of chips. Oh, I'm busy here. I don't wanna, we'll be leaving at what time?
Mr. New Package, your, something 101. This is not right.
Are you Yeti? Did you not?
No. Is that the problem? Is that what I need to do? Because
Yeah, you need to, be in that first.
I'm trying to look for your user ID. Okay, so are you in Yeti?
no, it's
Okay.
not even an option for me.
Okay, so you have to map to Yeti. Hold on 1 minute, just give me a second.
Okay. Do y'all know if that vending machine takes credit cards? Or is it just cash? No, let me go see. I appreciate it.
And then have some cookies. You want cookies?
Okay, appreciate it.
Okay. Anyone?
No, thank you, baby.
You want cookies? No, thank you.
All right.
Appreciate it.
I got a bunch of chips people in here.
You have some dip?
Some, yeah.
Oh, no, you have your dip.
You need to
Okay.
and some hummus and some, guacamole. Yeah.
I just got sugar on top of sugar. And this guy got like 9,000 emails.
Kanye, this is my junk email. My junky email.
That's your email?
Yeah, this is mine. I mean, I got the stuff that you sent me, so I just pull it up on my email on the computer. I'll start printing them tomorrow. Bring a binder for it, with everything in there.
It's in your calendar, your appointments.
I got to book myself for tomorrow.
It's nasty outside.
I saw your name on
No. I don't really sure. I really like it in my jacket.
Oh, you're not?
Put on my head.
Oh.
Want me back in? Y'all smack it. Please put me back in.
She let me borrow the money for the other half. I don't have the card. A lot of them. Choose tomorrow.
Your class is 101, right?
Yes, it's 101. I'm waiting on you so I can map it. It's not working? What's not working? Does the administrator have to reset her password since she's had too many attempted logins, Ms. Tanu?
Hold me one moment. I need to, if I don't get this thing down now, I'm going to get really annoyed. Because it's so tough. And I can't see. We will have to change that password. I am the administrator and I can't get it. So that's what I'm trying to fix. So she's not.
And I'm trying to. That's way up the level. I'm trying to talk about it tomorrow. What are you looking at? Your phone. That's good. 8 bucks. Yes, you did.
Yeah, that was how you spell. I don't know if it's an apostrophe though. I didn't put it.
We're gonna pay that when I see them. She's gonna sign what part?
You have a question? You just trying to do something?
Whatever the date is.
Yeah, that's
I
all right.
mean, put it in, but still I wanna go start myself from. No, that's not that good. Probably that's like, yeah. I just do the test. That'd be interesting too. I just want to get in the system and just see how it all works together. Right. I like to be in it. Comprehend it at the same time. Right. Some of the stuff she said. Doing all the things. Oh, sorry. Oh, you coming in?
Thank you, Chris.
Okay. So you have to map to Yeti. Let me give you the,
Oh,
They like the
Yeah.
crackers? Mm-hmm. They're the breakfast for them. I'm gonna cut that all my sweet eating stuff. Man, I've been eating sweet like crazy. I'm like, I can't even get them on pounds that I lost. Full of butter. When I get home, when I get at home, once I'm eating. Cause I ate before I left. Oh, I'm eating home. Good.
No, it's too
It's so late.
It is too late for me, but I don't get a chance to eat before I leave and take it out of the class.
That's how nice
You
the
know,
bar
put
from the
something decent on,
Mhm.
and I kind of road,
Mhm.
and, try to put something
Bring
in
me
the car.
dinner, yeah. But you right, it's too late. And then I ate late. I don't like eating like that. I mean, you know. So I'm going right to bed after that.
Mm-hmm.
That's what I did.
okay, so you map to the server.
So I try to fix something that's gonna last me for like a couple of days. So I eat, that's why I eat. I don't like eating like after making feel sick.
You like it.
Yeah, we could do that when I was younger, but I ain't that age no more.
Okay, next.
Don't eat nothing heavy.
Okay, description, I will just put,
Unless I think I just ate
yes.
a bowl of this oatmeal soup.
application
I don't really
server,
like soup in the can,
Yeti,
but I keep it around.
No, dot,
Just maybe some soup I want to eat.
dot,
But tonight, but I found my,
WM.
I had so my blood running this
and
morning.
comment, dot, edu.
I ain't even eat, but now I'm sorry because I didn't eat it last
Instance
night.
number is 00.
Then I've been gone all day.
Instance ID is YET. Okay, next.
Now I'm just ready to eat.
Okay.
Like I need to back up for today.
Finish. Okay, so now double click it. Yes.
I've been
Okay.
having
So I
junk
did this the
food.
other day. Sorry, did I do something wrong that I didn't save it or something? Oh, I'm sorry.
I don't know. Okay, so your client is 101. Your user ID will be learn dash 013. Okay, password is uppercase Michael. Enter. Okay.
Perfect, thank you so much.
How do I unlock mine?
I like my
Should I
password.
put something on it?
Yeah, if you've locked yourself out, there's nothing I can do because I can't get in as faculty to be able to change it. Yes. So I need to change it, but I can only do it as faculty. I can't do it as a student. And that's what I'm trying to figure out, why this faculty crafting thing is not working.
Can you email them?
No, I can't. I'm not allowed to. Please don't write it down.
Don't write it down?
No, it's for me, it's for my purpose only.
Okay, so, but if I need it again, you know.
You will have,
Okay,
yeah,
okay.
you need to talk to me, please don't write it down.
Okay.
If you need, the only way you can do it is, the only way, I can give it to you, I can cut and paste that part to you,
Yeah,
but I don't
that's the
want
whole
to
thing,
give you the,
yeah.
yeah, okay.
No,
So
no.
I'll cut and paste that and give it to you,
Thank you.
but,
That drive-in took me almost 2 hours.
That's what I heard.
That's, the way I would normally come, I use Waze, the app. And it tells me, don't go here and show you why. I always track it, so that.
Oh, okay.
Take the same road.
I heard there was a national, so there was a death.
Well, West Park, since it's like against traffic, West Park is usually pretty good.
So what kind of
So then
work is
there's
your
not-
husband?
There's
like a
coffee.
section of-
Oh, my husband is a lazy guy. I'm just
Was it a doctor or something?
Oh,
No, he
David,
has his own business, and he just
if there's coffee you drink,
buys old houses
Oh, he's a.
and renovates them.
for the extra, coffee drink.
I don't think he's ever
Okay,
sat,
just get
I think
coffee
he only ever sat in a coffee
David,
street and walked out.
Let's go.
Okay,
I should be drinking Coke, but I am tonight. You got me drinking the hard stuff.
She pushed you to it, didn't she?
Oh, she's going fast, you know, slow down.
I know.
Write it down, write it
I
down.
know. I'm like trying to write it down and she's like, wait a minute, what did you just say?
And I know that all stuff is important, man. I agree by the third time I see it, I might start understanding.
Yeah.
That's why I write it.
I printed mine
All the
today.
time.
I
I see it, I hear it.
It starts
I
at
write it
11.
down.
have a binder tomorrow.
I actually started around 10.
They got,
Checking out there.
full PDF.
Just enough time to get
On
on.
this that I started downloading last night. You bring us flash drive? I can send them to them.
Okay, yeah.
I'll do the podcast.
4 gigs.
Oh, okay. I have one that's an 80.
That's big enough.
Okay. I got some on there, but it's not all.
Between now and this month, I'm not overly concerned.
But I say we work in the yellow.
This
Okay.
I feel I need to be
No, and then you don't know, you're telling them.
highly.
Well, you don't really.
No, you say you get back with me.
Yeah, that one, if you don't expose yourself.
I'll get back with you. Let me get back with you.
The engine,
I need
they're notorious, that.
to
Now, we didn't talk about that part, how low down dirty people can be. Ain't nobody saying. If they work in groups and things, yeah, they know it's a contract, new contract. God open doors, God will keep you from.
come out with the dinner.
Keep it up.
One of the, actually,
You can spread it all right now. You look at that. You look at the, Google stuff up. TV stuff, it's out there.
you know, it's not only gonna be
A lot of YouTube videos, a lot. Everybody right now, talking about how it's up on YouTube, or PDF. A lot of stuff. Sometimes it's not right.
What you doing? Like, if you don't know it, then how would you know it's not
Right,
right?
but YouTube is, it's from the America, sometimes.
My pastor was pretty
I guess he does a lot of
He
it.
was respectful of it, but he did a series, lasted like 6 months. He can't be meaning this. But, you know, what I was doing was only irritating her, and I was fine. I let her eat, and I let her read, and I didn't have anything. And my expression, I was hoping that she was saying, are you done?
Man,
She's doing it on the computer, I'm not there. And I'm like, wait a minute, where did she go? It's like, what I did. I'm like, I'm lost.
that's why I'm going up, I'm like, excuse me, get off me.
okay. So, when, Star talks to you guys for the first couple of days, okay? Did she talk to you about, she introduced SAP as its ERP solution. right? She said, she talks to you about its use to mid-sized to large companies.
Yeah.
Okay. The ERP package uses a unified database plan to execute, report across. That's the beauty of the integration. Multiple business units. We talk about what SAP means, how it was founded by 5 IBM people, disgruntled workers, and what it has done from the first release to where we are now. And I think this system uses it's a 7.0. Okay. So we went from 3.1H, 4.0B, been through all these phases. Okay. 4.6 is notable because it introduced those 2 new icons at the top, which is create a new session and something else in there. And then 4.7, and it does. Then we move to ECC. And then, what is it called? It just gives you the brief history and background. So that's good reading, okay? And then we talk about SAP as what? A core. The ERP is known as the core module. Okay, when you're talking about the core module, you're talking about FICO. Okay, so this is FICO. Then HR has now been replaced by HCM, which is Human Capital Management. Then you talk about production planning, project systems, sales and distribution. You talk about MM, quality management, plant maintenance. Okay? So when these are your core modules, then you have what we call the new dimension modules. Okay? These modules can stand on their own, or you can hook them up. Okay? And what are those core modules, new dimension modules? Those are your SCM, supply chain, okay? Your CRM, supply relation, SRM, which is supply relation, CRM, customer relationship, and BW, business warehouse. Okay?
So this part here is your
these are what you call new dimension. Okay, these can stand on their own, or you can hook it up to the ERP package to a core module. Yes, ma'am.
Do these require certification also? Like to be able to operate those systems?
No, not really. No, really and truly, SAP is not certification driven. If you understand, it's not mandatory that you have it. Do you understand what I'm saying? It is good to have, because if we are going to look at 2 individuals, okay, one with certification, the other with none, most likely 9 out of 10, they will take the one with certification, okay? Does that mean he knows the stuff? Hell no, he just crammed the sucker, okay? So for me, it's not the certification, it is how you present yourself. Okay, and because you people are coming in, like 20 or 30 years into the game, certification may be, but they will never ever tell you. It was only during that time when the market was, where the unemployment was so bad and things were happening, that they were saying certification required, certification required, certification required. That's during that Obama recession area where they knew they could pick and choose because they were the cream of the crop sitting on the bench looking for something. Okay? So, I mean, if you're going to do the certification, like I said, a pass is a pass is a pass. You're not going to say, I got 70, you got 50. Hell no. It's a pass. Okay? Then we have what you call industry specific. For every industry, there's an SAP app for that. Okay? And these are what? These are your retail, okay, banking, milk products, milk, aerospace and defense. This is where a lot of government contracts, aerospace, media, automotive, healthcare, service providers, utilities, IS oil, engineering, construction, high tech, electronics, consumer products, half of these things I've never really seen. I haven't seen SAP help, but they must be in there, you know, but I don't think they're sought after. Public sector telecommunications, what is it called? And pharmaceutical. Okay? So, if you look at it again, it says SAP is highly customizable. What I tell you, SAP is nothing more than configuration and data. The customization is the configuration we do in the back end via SPRO. It says it can be altered to fit almost any enterprise requirement. So when SAP comes out of the box, it is vanilla. Then you begin to tweak it according to what the business requirement. It is not everything in SAP that you need to trigger. If you don't have production planning, there's no need to trigger that. If you don't do SP, there's no need to trigger that. Do you understand what I'm saying? So that is why it says it is highly customizable. And this is done by customization and enhancements. Enhancements are usually done to the program. What did I tell you about the program? SAP delivered functionality, you never change the program. You take the program, you copy it, you tweak it, and you put a what?
Save as like a Z.
What? A Z or a Y. So that SAP knows that that is not what they gave you. So SAP knows that you are responsible for whatever the heck you put in there. Do you understand what I'm saying? So, so that is the issue. Like I told you yesterday, we have a lot of these companies that have done a lot of core modifications to their programs. Okay, most of their ABABAs have dropped down dead or gone to other places, and they haven't done good documentation. So there is a problem when you're trying to debug it to see what it is doing and what it is saying. Okay, yes, ma'am.
So if I go in and tweak, let's just say PM01, right? No, let's use MM01. If I go in and tweak it even a little bit, let's not even say tweak, let's just say remove some of the fields. Is that then considered customization, and now we have to put a 0 Y because we touched it?
That is a very good question. If I just remove, you can go into MM01, into customization, and hide fields. Okay, that is different from, and I'll show you that when we start working it. That is going in and changing the program. If I go into the program and put a period,
Oh, yeah, you said.
okay, I've changed the program from the time I logged in to now. So that is not what SAP delivered to you. That is what you have just done. So you now have to denote that as different from what SAP has given you by putting a Z or a Y in front of the program name. Sometimes people put a Z or a Y in front of the transaction if they make a change to the transaction too. So sometimes you can go into a place and they say ZM21N. You know that's not SAP delivered functionality. Something has changed. Okay, so that's how you know something has changed. Okay, yes, ma'am.
No, you answered it. I was gonna ask what did you have to note with Z or
Y? Z or Y. Okay. So the programming is what's called ABAP. What is that? Advanced Business Application Programming. Okay, it is the 4th generation. That's why I put the ABAP/4. That means that anybody who is certified in C++, A, B, C, D, E, F cannot. Okay? All this Java, whatever. The programming is ABAP. It's a language that is specific to SAP. Okay?
So not Oracle?
No.
Oracle is the database or is the thing that it stands on.
Okay.
The language is ABAP. Okay? So that's completely different. Okay? The SAP application design is based on what? Data and configuration. Okay? The data is done through the transactions. Do you have this handout? If you do, I would underline these 2 things here. Okay? The SAP Easy Access provides transactions for business users that is used to maintain the master data as well as posting applications transactions documents, such as what? Purchase order, materials document, during goods receipt. All these are the transactions under transactional data is documents that upon save, a document number will be provided. 9 times out of 10, SAP delivered functionality will say, if my document ends in a 45, it is a PO. Unless the company has changed and said, we don't want 45, we want whatever. If the document ends in 51, it is a goods receipt. 9 times out of 10. If it ends in a 6 something, it is invoice verification. Each transaction will generate a document. Now, that being said, it is not everything that we do that generates a document. For example, if I create a source list, it won't give me a document number. Okay? If I create a material master record, right, the system can allow me to, I have 2 options. I can get an internally generated number, or I can externally give it a number based on the material type. Some material types will allow for internal and external generation of numbers. And we're going to look at that when we get there. Okay? Then, this is where I want to go to for today. Understanding the SAP landscape. Okay? What is the SAP landscape? Okay? For any person involved in SAP implementation, rollout, upgrade, you must first understand the landscape. Okay? In SAP, we have 3 basic boxes. Okay? The first box is your development box. Okay? What is the development? Like the name says, that's where you do your development. We call this like the sandbox. Okay. That's where you play to make sure what you are doing is okay. Okay? This box is divided into 2. Most places, or they may have 2 boxes. The first is going to be your sandbox, and then your second is going to be what we call your golden configuration. Okay? Golden configuration. We move our configuration in SAP through what we call transports. Okay? So how do I move from this development box to QA? Okay? I move it by transports. Okay? That transport, and I will show you, the transaction code is SE10, and I will show it to you. Okay? It is not going to work in this system. Why? Because this system is standing on its own. It's a training environment. They're not going to put in all the bells and whistles because you are in St. Michael's. Okay? So for you to understand, that is why I am showing you this. So we move from development to QA. Okay? And then from QA, we move transport again to production. Right. Production is live. Production is what you see when you log into the system in the morning. That is your production. Yes. Okay? We never do configuration in production. Configuration is done here in the sandbox. Once we have done the sandbox and we are comfortable with what we have done, we move it through transport to golden configuration. Okay? Why do we move it to quality? Because we need to test. Why can't we test in golden configuration? Because in golden configuration, there is no master data to test. There is no transactional data. There's no transactional data. So we can't test. Does that make sense? So this is pure unadulterated config. And we can't test. The essence is to test. So that is why we move it to QA. When it gets to QA, then we hit it with the barrage of testing. Okay? We will do what we call end-to-end testing. We're testing from one end to the other. So if we have MM, SD, whatever, we test from purchase requisition or creation of master data of plan all the way to the end. We can do unit tests. What is a unit test? I'm just testing a unit. Purchase order creates. Okay? We can test the unit. We can test what we call stress tests. What is stress?
Stress.
How many people can be on the system during what they call peak time 8 to 5? If the business comes and says between 8 to 5 all over the world, we have like 20,000 users on it. We're going to test for at least 75,000 users at the same time.
Yeah.
So we hit it with a barrage of testing. Then we do what we call regression test. What is regression? That when we create, for example, a PO, the document before the preparation of the PO, which is like a purchase requisition, we haven't messed anything at the back. So the process flow for the P2P process is to create a purchase requisition, then we create a purchase order, then we do a goods receipt, then we do an invoice verification. If we have made some, the configuration we made is related to purchase order, we're going to test to make sure that we can still create a goods receipt and it's not giving us any kinds of problems. So we hit it with testing here. It must pass. If it doesn't pass, every unit will do the testing. If it doesn't pass, and what is the pass? The pass is that when I say create a purchase order, right, and I put in the data in there, the end result is that for purchase order, the end result is that it must give me a purchase order number within the number range for a PO. Right. So if I say my PO number range is a 45, it's a 9-digit PO, right? And I test and it gives me a 46, it has failed. If it bombs, it has failed. What is a bomb? It didn't go through the process. For some reason, it just went.
What gave us a wrong number.
If it abends, it has failed. What is an abend? An abnormal end. What we are expecting to see is a 4-5. But it gives us anything else than a 4-5 or a runtime error or whatever. And you're going to see a lot of that when we're in the system because you guys are going to definitely mess the system up. That is an abnormal end. That means this didn't pass. Okay? Once we have done all that, then we push it into production. Production is live. You don't do any configuration. In fact, in the real world, the configuration, the back end is not available. It says you are not authorized. Okay, so what happens when we pushed it in and it's not working? What do? We can't reverse it out. So what do? We now go back to development
And see where
redo it again, push it into golden config, and take it across and take it across. Now, since if it is the same thing we're doing, it's going to be hitting the same tables, right, guys? So what does that mean? That the later configuration takes precedence over the former one, so it lies on top of that one, and that takes the correction in there.
Because all you're doing is making some tweaks to the problem.
If I get here and I find that it doesn't work, okay? Because most of the time, you know what people do? People take a copy of this production box to refresh this. So this is mimicking this. Do you understand what I'm saying? So when you're testing, it's as if you're testing in here. Most people don't do it as often as required. Okay, so if we test it here and it goes through, and we test it here and it doesn't go through, something has happened. So we have to go back
to the
development box. Make the changes that we're going to be changing. Right? SAP is nothing more than what? Data and configuration. All my data goes into what? Tables. Right? So if I do a new whatever here, it's going to be hitting the same tables, right? So whatever is here that was wrong will be replaced by the new one that is working correctly.
Oh, right.
Does that make sense?
Yeah.
Okay.
So that is how we run it through. This is what you call your SAP landscape. When we enter the system, right, what was our client? 101. So this will be 101. This can be 201. This can be 301. Can you use the same login here and here? Heck no.
No.
So this is why we have a lot of problems on the day of go live, right? We have given the users the username and whatever for production, but because they're so used to the testing environment and everything, they use this and then they raise up their hands in the air like they just don't care and say SAP don't work.
Right.
Yeah.
It won't work because you cannot use your here for here.
Or they'll go and test it and forget that they're not in production.
And they forget you're not. You remember I told you that sometimes
they forget what's
I work with 3-4 screens. So I need to know where I am. That is why I always, when I'm in the system, I will always put my thing on the client so I know what client I'm in.
Or change your colors for testing.
Well, I'm too lazy to do that. I'm changing of colors. I just look at it there and I just, alt tab in between. Or I can have those 3 sessions open next to each other. So I do my configuration there, transfer it over, testing there. Do you understand what? It depends on how you like to work.
Yeah.
Okay. I just like my screen to look really busy, so when my boss is coming out, you can see I'm doing something. But you know the trick how I put my CNN into my favorite. So I'm giving you all you guys have to pay me. So, this is just the main box, okay? I have been in companies before where it is as simple or as convoluted as they want it to be. Because they're trying to make sure that very little error goes into production. So in Shell, they have 2 different boxes. They have the sandbox. From the sandbox, you transfer to the golden configuration. From golden configuration, you transfer here to pre-qual. You test in pre-qual, you transfer to qual. You test in qual, you transfer to pre-prod. Okay? Prod. And then you test there, you move here. So it can be as simple, the basic one is this. But it can be as simple or as convoluted as possible, as they want it to be. Because they're trying to track errors and issues. Because you don't want your production just looking like a mad place.
Yeah, you don't.
You want your work. Does that make sense? So this is what this is talking about. It is talking about the SAP landscape. Okay? It's talking about your development, your client, and the production. Okay? The client in SAP, write that down, is the highest hierarchy. Yes. You don't have anything higher than your client.
Yes.
Who taught you that? Star.
To make sure that we know what
Yes.
the client is.
It is the highest hierarchy. It says it is called a client. All transactions and master data are differentiated based on the client number. So if you go into a table, and I will show you this once I get this thing sorted out. If you go into a table, if the first column you see is that client number, that means that it is specific to that client. If you don't see a number, then it is for the whole landscape. That's how you know. Okay? So it's saying here is which forms a primary composite primary key. That's the first column that I'm talking to you about. Okay? So when you log in the first time into SAP, you must first enter the client system on the screen. Okay? It talks about the development. Okay? It's saying this is usually only one development client, but depending on the client requirement, it can be further divided into what? Sandbox as well as the golden configuration.
Can you help me with something?
Yes, sir.
Okay, well, when you talk about security, I know that's a big deal because in terms of, when you do your testing, right? One of the things you test is who can access what, who can make changes to what.
Yes, we're going to talk about that. When you are in, let me show you what it is. I hate this thing that just keeps defaulting to me.
Yeah.
Okay, if you go into here, system, first of all, you can have an SU01, okay? I'm not authorized, I have to show you that. If you go to system, user profile, own data, okay? If you come in, it's not in here too. Ooh, check it out. It's not in here. I need to get into SU. Let me see. Let me go back.
You trying to look at the roles?
These roles for the I'm not even
I
allowed.
thought it was issue 05, no?
You have to be an administrator to do it.
Oh, no, that is
Let me type SU03. I'm not authorized. I have to come in as the instructor to be able to do that. But depending on what you were hired for, you have roles that are assigned to your profiles. Okay? Those roles will indicate what it is you have access to or what you don't have authorization to. Okay? When you are using transactions, any transaction with an ending of 1 is to create. You know that, right?
Yes.
A 2 is to change. A 3 is to be displayed. Okay. So if I am an SAP procurement person, I will have 1, 2, 3 to all areas that are required for my job. Okay. If I am trying to look for information in FI, I will only have display access, which is a 3. Okay, based on the roles that have been assigned to your profile. Okay, that is how they control access into the system, because you can't just open it up to everybody. Now, if you are a configuration specialist or you are doing implementation or support, you will be given what we call SAP_all. That means you have access all over the place. But that is sparingly given. Do you understand what I'm saying? It is, and you definitely will not be giving it to them in production. Okay, so there's an SAP all that gives you access to everything if you are in, configuration and you're doing rollouts and everything else, but it is sparingly given. Does that make sense?
Yes. Yes.
Do you understand this process?
Yes.
It moves across the landscape using what we call a transport. What is a transport? SPRO. Go to the back end.
Right.
Enterprise reference RMG. Let me say enterprise structure definition. I say logistics general. I say define, copy, delete, check plans. I execute it. Okay. Anytime you see that thing that has the hour, the clock, it takes precedence over enter. Okay. It is stronger than enter. So if I say define plant, I'm just going to do a quick define plant here, and I say choose. Okay. Choose. Today will be nice. Excuse my French. Materials management. Okay. No, let me do this. Let me go into materials management. Let me go into purchasing. Let me say create purchasing groups.
Like yesterday.
It's not allowing me to maintain. So we really have to look for, I really have to get the system that is going to allow us to go in, because we have to create our own plans and so on. But what happens is that I double click it here, it will open it up, and then when you see the thing that looks like a truck, it's an icon that looks like a truck. That is your transport item. Okay? And it is going to take you to where? /NSE10. This is your transport organizer. Okay? You have two types of transport. You have the modifiable and the released. Modifiable means that it's still in its original place. It's still in development. So that means I can still change it. Once it is released, it is gone. So you have to come back here
And then do whatever you're gonna do.
and do whatever and transport it again.
So this is the last.
Okay, so this is your transport. So let's say modifiable, let's say release. What is in here? There is nothing in. That's the transport log I'm talking to you about. You see that? Now, if we had a transport number here, it will give us a number beginning with an R3D K. That's what your transport number starts with. And then it gives you a number. Your transport is made up of the parent, this one, and then the child, R3DK, whatever the number is. Okay? So this is what I should be writing down. Your transport can be modifiable or released. If it is modifiable, it is still in its correct state, and you can change it. Transports are modifiable or released.
When you're doing this, right, let's say you write in pre-production, something fails. Okay, it doesn't go there. Is there some protocol that says where it can or cannot go if it fails there?
Okay, I will tell you the process. Okay, I'll tell you the process. But let me get right. I want to get. Yeah. Okay. So this is your parent. This is your child. Transports are modifiable or released. If it is modifiable, it is still in its correct status, and you can change it. If it is released, it is gone. You cannot make a change. You have to start again from the development box, sandbox. Now, your transport, your configuration is released through transport along the landscape. You understand that, right? Your transports are made up of your parent and your child. You must, underline must, release the child before the parent. And it must go in sequence. Let me repeat myself. You must release the child before you release the parent. And it must go in sequence, or you will mess up production. Okay. SU53 is when you have.
You must release the child before you release the parent.
So SU53 is when you have a dump, and you want other people to look at it to see what the dump is. So you do an SU53, you print that screenshot and send it to basis people, and they can see from right there. Hold on, let's go back. Open up another session. SU53. If you have a dump, this is your SU53. You send this. Once you get the error dump, you send this to basis. Okay, hold on, because I want to make sure everybody to get it. Okay, so do you understand what I'm talking about? Your parent and your child. Your child must go first. The parent must go second, and then it must go in sequence.
If you have to correct something, do you have to get into the child and then the parent and reverse it back the same way?
No, we don't reverse. Because you have to start again. Since they are hitting the same tables, right? The correction will be made. That's the first thing. His question, how is there any recall? Before you move anything to production, right? Most businesses will have what we call a transport meeting.
Yeah.
The person who has done the configuration will give a brief synopsis of what they have done and why they have made that change based on what? A ticket that somebody has. We have just created a new plan. Can you create a new plan for this storage location? So once we've done that, we do that, we create that. If it's a program change, right, the programmer will tell us what the program is doing. Yes. Then we do what the programmer then does what? Based on my functional spec and his technical spec, right, he makes the tweaking to the program. And then we have what we do call a code review. You cannot release without a code review. The ABABA must go back and review the code to make sure that it is in compliance with SAP, the company's standard. Without a code review, you cannot move a program. Do you understand what I'm talking about? Okay, so if we have a transport meeting, right, everybody, all the SAP team, just like we're sitting here, will say, okay, does anybody have any issues? Or well, maybe we shouldn't send this in today because we're going to do cycle counting and we don't want that plant included in our cycle counting because it's a new plant with a new material. Okay, we will move it on so date, or we'll bring it up again. That's when we discuss just to mitigate and limit any kinds of issues that are going to be happening here. Once we have done that transport union and everything, then there is what we call a cab review. They review all the transports, queue them up. Okay, because you cannot send transports during the day unless it is what we call a showstopper. It is needed immediately. Then they will, during cab, they will review all those transports, queue them in, and then we have a basis person that is working. Some people will work during the day, other people will work during the night. Do you understand what I'm saying? And we move those transports when there is least ramifications and repercussions, which is usually around 2 a.m. in the morning. In the morning. So the next day you come to work, you make sure that your transport has made it through.
That's why you have to log off, right? If you're going to do a transfer.
You have to you have to log off. Not everybody. I mean, you may not really have to log off because if it's what we call mission critical. Do you understand what I'm saying? They need it now and then. We will move it. Yeah. But if they don't need it now and then we will wait till when there's not much activity on the system and move it.
Yeah, that's why you'll see some change, like in the morning when you get back to work.
In the morning and you say,
oh, my system changed.
Well, before that, what most companies do, they send you out a pop, a bulletin, saying that from we have made this new change because this is what happened, this is what happened. So this is what you will notice. You come in tomorrow morning on the 8th or whatever, you will see this is as a result of ticket number, this, which was opened by this, to take care of this issue. Do you understand what I'm saying? So there are a lot of moving parts. A lot of moving parts that are going on. But you cannot move a transport without authorization. There must be a meeting. There must be a meeting. That's why I said to you, remember when I told you, I said, the system is open to you to do anything. Some of you may never get to this back end again, unless you're doing configuration rollout or something like that. All some of you are going to see this day in, day out, day in, day out. Yeah. But for you to know why this is doing this is because of what we've done here, and pushed here, and tested here, and put in there. Does that make sense, guys?
Yeah. On that testing, is there a time frame so it comes up?
It depends on what it is. We have deliverables. It depends on your company. We need for you to be able to test this, and we want it done by so and so dates. Do you understand what I'm? Then you test. If you cannot meet the deadline, you need to say it. Okay, but you need to know how many times you're saying it, because people are looking, and they will only talk on the day of your review. They say, well, you've always pushed your milestones or your deliverables, and it's affecting the whole, because we go by milestones. Okay. Now, going to her question, S253. Remember, I told you that sometimes your system may bomb. It may give you an abnormal edge. Let's say I created a purchase order and it just give me like a blue screen saying whatever. You know, what you do is that within that task that you're trying to do, you go into your command field. If I'm creating a purchase order, you go into the command field \n SU53. It will pull this up. You open up a ticket and you send this to Basis.
Okay.
Basis now knows exactly what happened based on this SU53 report. If they can fix it, they will fix it. If they cannot fix it, and it is prioritized against, remember I told you high priority, 1, 2, and they will have to get SAP involved in it.
So you're saying that, say you're on the computer and you or something go wrong, or you call it tech support or whatever, and this is the screen that they can look at where they could see diagnostic.
That is like a diagnostic, exactly.
Yeah. And
but you must do it as soon as you receive that error message. Yeah. Okay, you must do the SU50. If you close out of it, unless you can mimic it again, this is of no use. So if I'm saying create a purchase order and it bounces or it gives me an appen, immediately you do that SU53. I cannot say, oh, I'm going to green arrow back out and then come back in again, or on a new screen do an SU53. Okay. It won't work. Okay, because this is your this is like a diagnosis. Right. What caused it to happen and why it happened, and then they can go back to review it. SU53. Okay, and you need to know that even if you are a user, whatever, you need to know that this option SU53 is available to you. It needs to be done at that particular time in that particular task.
That's why they can't go in under your user ID or your authorization.
You cannot go in, apart from the fact that it is SOX. You're not SOX compliant. Right. If you are going in with somebody's user, you can get into trouble.
Well, not a regular employee can go into this. They shouldn't be in it anyway.
No, SU53 is available to anybody. This should be your. If you're having an affair, you have an affair with this thing. No, do you understand what I'm saying? Because it makes your job easier. I'm not a basis person. I'm not a system administrator. Do your job. Yeah. It's not working. Yeah. Do you understand what I'm saying? So you make a screen and open up a ticket, and everything is worked on ticket. How you get your promotions, demotions, whatever. It's based on how many tickets you resolve, the complexity of the ticket, your approach to customer service, documentation. Did you document the issue so that next time it happens, the next person knows to check your your library to see if this issue has happened before and go in without having to open up a ticket for the same issue over and over and over again. Does that make sense? Yes. Any questions? So that is how your landscape is. Remember, your landscape can be as easy, as simple, or as difficult, or convoluted, or complex as the business. Is something ringing?
Yeah, I'm hearing it.
Okay, as convoluted as possible as they want it to be, and all with the main intention of protecting your production environment.
Yeah, it's all about security.
It's all about security. It's all about access. It's all about proper documentation. Yes. Because, like I said, if you put crow in, you're going to get crow out.
Yeah. The project you worked on in Russia, what kind of project was it?
It was Sakhalin. It was for oil and gas.
LNG.
Yeah.
I'm familiar with LNG. Boy, that was big billions.
I just like the drinks, that's all. And it was too freaking cool for an African. So.
I survived.
Yeah,
I survived by, these oneys that the British people wear on the program that you think they're weird. Those like money things?
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, I got 2 of those. I had one hat. Oh, I had gloves, first of all, that showed the fingers, then the other ones. I said, hell must be real. It was horrible. And then there's nothing you can do. You have to be very careful because they have this mafia thing. So you can't really walk around by yourself, So let's go back and look at that. So I broke it down, describe the development box, what it does, look at the UA, what it does, okay? Upon completion of the customization and development, a transport request, SE10, is then created to move the objects to the quality and testing environment. Testing to ensure the integrity of the system. Okay? And if the system is, if it passes, we move it to production. Production is where the user enters operational data on a daily basis. Okay? Then we talked about the distinguishing between the client-dependent, client-independent tables. If the first column has the client key, it is client-dependent. You can only see that data in that client. If it doesn't have that client key, it is client-independent. That means it is available across the landscape. Okay? Does that make sense? Importance of transport. Now, I wish I could open this up. You see, this is what the transport looks like.
Go to view, see where the top was in view, and see if you,
There we go. Zoom.
there it is, yeah.
Zoom.
Go to 200, see if that does it. It might be too, oh, sorry. Oh, there we go, there we go.
Okay, so you see, this has been released. Okay, you see, this is the child.
Yeah.
You flag it here, you see that, and then you release it. Okay, this is the parent. You flag that here, and you release it. How do I know it's released? Because it's ticked here and ticked there.
Okay, so it's that check.
That check will show you its release status.
So if one of them is not checked, then you can't release it?
But it says it released.
They should not all be, they should not be, if it's in modifiable state, it can be checked.
Okay.
So,
Okay?
here's the parent.
And then if you open up this, right, when we do the configuration, if you open this up, it will show you all the dependency tables where
They made changes.
where this configuration has touched.
But you have nested parent-child, parent-children. Some of the children become parents, right? And so you go deep into the nest, into the hierarchy, and release at the bottom of the child, the bottom child first. And you know what I'm saying? So if you got this nested set of parent, child, and there's more children, so it's a parent, child.
I have never seen that before. I've never seen that before. I know what you're talking about, but I've never seen that because when you're doing configuration, if I'm saying I'm doing, the next thing is when you're doing a series of configuration. When I'm doing a configuration, the way I like to tackle it is a one-on-one, one-to-one. If I'm creating a plant, I create a plant. I'm not going to create a company code, this. So what I'm doing is a one-to-one. So for my own sanity, and for me to be able to follow it and explain it at a meeting, I do it one by one and release. I may have 50 transports, but I'm releasing them one by one. You know why? Because if you nested them like that and you made an error, then you are in big SHIT. Because you don't know where it is. You have 50 transports, then you have to do it again. I've been there, done that, and it was miserable. So I will do it. That's just what works for it. Okay? Now, So some of you may know more than I do, I know how to do it, but I will always take it one at a time. If I'm doing a whole configuration, plant, storage location, whatever, I do it one at a time. Okay, first of all, I will be able to defend the dream and meetings one at a time. And then if they say, don't move this, and it's all nested, then I have a problem.
Oh, yeah, you will.
I have a problem. Okay, so that is what this looks like. What did I go back to this? So that is what that looks like. And then, okay, it says if you have multiple transport requests hitting the same table, okay, you have to release them in sequence. Remember what I told you? It has to be done in sequence. If it's hitting the same table, it has to go one after the other, Okay? And then that's it. Okay? So we've looked at the SAP, the origins, the history, the founding, how they started, where we are now, right? And we looked at the SAP landscape. The SAP from development to quality and to production. Your development can be one box divided into two or two boxes under development. Your QA is your testing. Why don't we test in broken config? Because we have no master data, no transactional data to use to test. That's why we move it to production, and in production is where we do the what? The barrage of testing, depending on what we are trying to accomplish. Once we've done that, transport that little truck, we transport the baby, the child, before we do the parent, we move it into production. We don't do configuration in production because production is live. Nobody will open up production for you to do configuration in. Remember, what else did I tell you about your tables? You never make a direct object onto a update onto a table. Is it done? Yes. Can it be done? Yes, but there's a lot of legal red tape around doing that. First of all, you have to obtain a firefighter ID. It has to be logged. You make the change. It is only open to you for a certain time. You make the change. You get out of it. Okay? Any questions? Okay. Finally, I want to look at what we call the SAP methodology. Okay? What is the SAP methodology? The SAP methodology implies that, what does it imply that? I'm waiting to find out. So let's look at that. What did I do?
Methodology, that's not a handout, right?
Oh, because I don't have it.
No, that's that. Presentations.
Okay, I think I'm gonna hold off this tomorrow,
Okay.
until
Okay.
tomorrow. You know why? Because it has a lot of information, and I see some of you are really struggling to keep your eyes open. So I'm gonna hold off and because this really talks about the integration point. Okay? Now, for your class exercise, I want you to start thinking of the following things. Once we can get the system up and running, where you can go into the back end to do your configuration, I want you to think about setting up the following, okay? I want you to create 2 plans.
Create 2 plans?
Yes, just name the plans, okay? That you are going to put into the system. What business are you doing? If you are doing flowers, then your plants should be whatever the name of the flower shop is, okay?
Okay.
Then I want you to create 2 storage locations, okay? No, 3 storage locations, 3, okay? Then I want you to create 1 plant specific purchasing organization. Okay, 1 company code specific purchasing organization. And then 1 reference, okay, purchasing organization. Okay, then I want you to create 4 purchasing groups. I want you to start thinking about this, okay? 2 plants. My first plant is going to be doing nail polish, okay? My second one is going to be doing weave-ons, okay? My storage location, okay? For the first plant, I'm going to have 2 storage locations, okay? So I have 2 plants. Plant number 1 will have 2 storage locations. Plant number 2 will have 1 storage location. Okay? It must make sense. Don't do nail polish and then you are going to tell me you are cremating bodies. Okay? It must make sense. Okay? Then I'm going to have a plant-specific purchasing organization. Just put it, plant-specific purchasing organization, company code-specific purchasing organization, 1 reference, 1 purchasing group. Now,
1 purchase or 4? You got 4.
4. Sorry. What is it? We are going to talk about a plant. You need to use your what is your user ID? If your user ID is 008, okay, your plant should be a 4-digit character field with your user ID in there. So if your plant is your user ID is 0008, I would say plant P008 for the first one. Okay. The second one, P maybe 081. Something. It has to involve your user ID. Okay. A plant is a 4-digit alphanumeric character field. A storage location is a 4-digit alphanumeric field beginning with a 0. This is where are all the colors of this? We had like 1,001 colors before. Okay, your storage location is a 4-digit alphanumeric beginning with a 0. Your plant is a 4-digit alphanumeric. Okay? Your purchasing organization is a 4-digit alphanumeric. So if your number is 008, I would say, since it's 4 digits, I'll say, what is it? Purchasing of 8A. For the first one, purchasing of 8B. Why am I saying AB? Because somebody else has what? Number 9. And you don't want to do 9, 10 because you're stepping on somebody else's toe. Does that make sense? Then your reference will be P08C. 4-digit alphanumeric. Your purchasing group is a 3-digit alphanumeric. Okay, let me go through it again. 2 plants. The first plant will have 2 storage locations. Yes, ma'am.
What's this for?
This is for your setting up your organizational data. When we go into config and we're going to start, you will create your own plants, you will create your own storage locations, you will create your own purchasing organization, you will create your own material, you are doing everything. Okay? So your plants, I need 2 plants. Why do I need 2 plants? Because by the time we get further down, you people are going to mess up the first one so badly that you're going to use the second one for what? Lessons learned, for making a bundle of the first one. Do you understand what I'm saying? So I'm going to go through it again. You need 2 plants. 1 plant with 2 storage locations. Plant 4-digit alphanumeric. Use your user ID number. And then if you need to create anything that's more than 1, go into A, B's, and C's. Okay? The second plant, 1 storage location. Your storage location, 4-digit alphanumeric beginning with a 0. Standard SAP delivered functionality. Your plants, you're going to create a purchasing organization. 3 types. You're going to create a plant-specific purchasing organization. You're going to create a company code-specific purchasing organization. You're going to create a reference purchasing organization. Then you are going to create 4 purchasing groups. Okay? Alphanumeric. So if your purchasing organization, if your number is 08, I would say 08A, 08B, 08C, 08D. Okay? Any questions? What, sir?
So if we have, so if we got 2 plants, each of the plants gotta have its own purchasing organization.
No, just do it like
1?
this, and then
Okay.
it will be, when we start to mesh them together, you will understand why we are doing it the way we are doing it.
All right.
Okay?
Yes, ma'am.
People usually, when they take these pictures, they take me and I'm like this.
Yes,
Yes.
don't crack.
Okay? Any questions? I know this sounds like Taiwanese to you people, but it will make sense once we go in and start looking at the. I just want you to start thinking about it right now. Okay? When we are working in the back end, SPRO, only 1 person can work at one time. If we are doing in the same table.
And where is this in? I'm sorry.
In SPRO, in the back end, implementation guide.
Who typically does that on a job? Is that the basic administrator or someone else?
That does what?
That goes into the back end.
No, we are going into the back end.
Yeah.
Yes.
He's talking about us.
Are we going to the back end? If you are doing rollout, support, implementation, you have to configure the system, right? So we are responsible for configuring the system, okay? So let me repeat myself again. You may not understand what we're talking about, but there's a method to this madness, okay? I need for you to have this ready. So when I'm explaining it, then we begin to put the diagram together and looking at it, okay? We're going to use the company code that is already been provided by this system. We're not going to reinvent that.
Oh, okay.
Okay? Because it already has the GL accounting, it already has all that stuff in there. We don't want to do that because why don't we want to do it? Because I don't know how the heck what FI does, and it's just going to bog us down. Okay? Any questions? Okay. Those of you who need to go and do whatever you need to do, start doing that, because anybody who has any questions should start talking to me, because I am out of here.
She needs, hats.
Okay.
This sign is that you wrote on the wall. We're using transaction for SPR.
No, you're not going to do it now. When we get ready to put it in,
Right.
it's going to be done in transaction code SPRO. But you wouldn't know what to put in now.
Right, okay,
Sure.
we don't have to do this right now.
No,
You came in at the.
No, you have to start thinking about
Thinking
it.
about it.
Thinking about the type of business you want to be doing. Thinking about the materials you want to procure. You know, you have to start.
Is this as a
thinking about
group or individual?
Individual. Everybody is going to have their own plan, their own storage location, their own company code.
Okay.
Okay? Everybody is going to do their own.
Okay.
Because that's the only way you can learn, by
Yes.
making your own, doing yours. You don't want to piggyback on somebody else's.
Yes.
Okay? Any questions based on anything that I've taught so far?
I gotta go home and think about it.
As I into the system and seeing how it works, then it will more or less make sense to me.
Okay.
So I understand what you're saying, but it's just like let's go into the system.
Okay, so please go into the, well, don't go into the system yet because you don't even know what you're going to do. So just, yeah, okay. We all have to go out together holding hands because I have the key, so let's go and wait.
It's open, isn't the gate open?
Well, you find out when you get there, but just stand in line.
Hey, I promise you, you're not gonna leave me.
Okay, so now let's go back go into here, double click that. Okay, now, yeah, so hit, what number do I
We'll be talking on so much.
What number she was working on?
Oh, y'all gotta turn this off, Robert. You can't go nowhere no more. Y'all take care of all your electronic stuff.
Turn it off and all that.
Tab. Space bar. What is it? Is it the-
Do that real quick and go to the restroom. Make a hot food.
Okay.
Good night, have a good evening.
Hit that one.
Do you still need the presentation thing?
No.
Oh.
Yeah, the first one. Now, this one. And your number will be what? 14. 1, 4.
Take it off when I get your call.
Now, tap.
How can you get in the car and warm up, then it'll be hot?
Michael.
Yeah, I like it.
Okay, then CHAELS.